The reality is there's almost an infinite variation of the facial artery because little wiggles here and there are not documented as differences.
I guess the people who don't like aspirating would say that probabilistically maybe it helps, but is that probability, does it outweigh the risk of doing an additional intervention?
So the trauma of aspirating, for example. Yeah, I actually haven't seen that come up. Usually it's more of a discussion around, but that's a very good way of thinking about it, but usually it's a discussion more around whether it works or not.
Yeah.
And
why do they say it doesn't work?
So one of the reasons it doesn't work is if your filler is too thick. So we did an experiment on this. This is one of the reasons why I did the experiment, which is this idea that when you're injecting, if you've primed the needle, that it no longer is sensitive to any aspirating, or if it is, you've got to aspirate for the very minimum 10 seconds, which is actually a very long time. If you're doing a big procedure, your injection takes 1 second, your aspirating takes 10 seconds. So it lengthens the time of your procedure enormously if you do that for every injection, so people don't like doing it. But all of those are they're not probabilistic in the way that they're phrasing it. They're saying there's no point unless this. And actually, when we tested it with the fillers, we got a range of different results. So many of the fillers, very reassuringly, aspirate within a second, so very quickly. And this was in my own forearm. We'll post a link in the video so that you can see that experiment or get the free download, where we have the timings of different fillers. It revealed to me is that every filler has a different probability of aspirating in a different situation. And then if you change the needle, that's another different probability. And of course, different areas of the face have different arteries, different anatomy. And I don't just mean according to what the textbook says. I mean, there's differences between individuals. We just don't match the textbook. Huge variation. I know there's something like 40 different variations of the facial artery, but those are simplified variations. The reality is there's almost an infinite variation of the facial artery because little wiggles here and there are not documented as differences, but they are. So we all have different anatomy, and that means you've got to approach the whole thing as in, is there a way I can make a tiny incremental difference in the risk of this procedure which makes sense to me, and apply that as one of many different steps. So it's not this idea that aspirating makes you safe and not aspirating makes you unsafe. It's that it's one of many different barriers you put in the way of a potential vascular occlusion, not a single one step saves you from all the problems, because obviously that's just not how it works.